So, tomorrow is the International Day of Happiness, and I'm so excited to kick off this episode because the topic is going to be about flipping the script. Today, I'm talking with Jessica Coleman and learning about her journey, pushing past all the fears, all the concerns, and just doing the thing. She has an incredible story. I cannot wait for you to hear it. Welcome back to the Random and Wonderful podcast. I'm your host, Grace Simmons, your favorite solo travel mindset coach. Each episode, we explore ways to uplift you on your journey to add joy, confidence, and independence into your life. All right. Well, welcome to the Random and Wonderful, Jess. I'm glad to have you. Sorry, I froze for a second. Okay. Anyway. So before we get into your story, because I want to hear a little bit more about what like co-living is, can you explain what you do as a travel transformation coach?
Yeah, so I do quite a few things. I'm an author, I'm a course creator. I have my own podcast called the Travel Transformation Podcast. And yeah, basically, it's my mission to inspire people to travel more, to inform them of the different ways people can travel because they might not be aware of it. It's definitely changed a lot since the pandemic. And yeah, just to give them the motivation they need, either through my stories or through people I meet, my guests, to try and get them to step outside their comfort zone, try something new, and ultimately boost their confidence and hopefully sort of change their life, which is what I did and how I use travel to change my life. So
Yeah.
yeah, and I do my coaching through books, courses, podcasts. Like it doesn't have to be a one-on-one thing. It can be just inspiring people to travel more through whatever medium you can get your message across. So that's what I do.
Yes. Okay, that's awesome. So let's get into it because I do want to hear about the story of your co-living adventure in Spain. So you were in Basque country.
Yes, so that's right at the
Is
top
that
of Spain.
Okay, you were in. Okay, yeah. Please just first, what is co-living, and then tell me about this month that you spent there.
Okay, so basically a co-living house. It's usually one house, but the one I went to was a pop-up. So they'd sort of hired an Airbnb, this huge Airbnb, for the purpose of 1 month co-living. And basically it's digital nomads, which is what I class myself as. I sort of travel and work remotely, or anyone who can work remotely, whether it's full-time or part-time, whether they have their own business or they work for a different company, but they have the option to work remotely. So it's anyone who is working but traveling at the same time. We all get together, we all live together. It's basically like the Big Brother house, if you understand what that is. I don't know if you've had that in the US,
Yes.
without the cameras, luckily.
Yes.
But I do often feel like it's like that. I feel like it's a mix of the Big Brother house and going to university. So if you remember like halls at university or dorms or whatever you call them,
Oh, okay.
so you're like working in the day, or you have lectures in the day, or you have work in the day, whatever. But then you're also living with all these amazing people from all over the world who do have amazing
Mhm.
businesses and passions and side projects and things. And the idea is, or at least the one I went to, which is called Sun and Co. They're usually in Havea, Spain, but this pop-up, as you mentioned, was in the Basque Country. And their whole ethos is to share your knowledge with other people and learn from other people. So they do things like workshops, masterminds, skill shares, all that kind of stuff. You can request one-on-ones with people
Wow.
to trade skills. So like I gave someone advice, say, and they looked over my website for me, something you would usually pay hundreds of pounds for.
Mhm.
You sort of trade skills that way.
Right.
And it's just a really cool thing because, like I say, you get to meet people from all over the world. I've made friends, I reckon, for life. Like I've already met up with them in other places. I've traveled to them to visit them. I've traveled with them. It's a great form of networking generally. And yeah, it's so much fun.
Wow.
You learn a lot about business, self-development. It's very self-development and mindset focused. And it's all about growing and learning more about yourself and becoming the best version of yourself, which is all stuff I'm really into. And then you also get to learn about,
Exactly.
everyone else's cultures, their backgrounds, their countries. There's usually, an exchange, lots of conversations about the languages, different slang words, different swear words. So you learn lots of different swear words in lots of different languages. So yeah,
Of
it's all
course.
that kind of stuff. I mean, that's what you mainly talk about after a bottle of wine or whatever around dinner. And yeah, it's all about community and connection. We do things called family dinners. So, like, we go into cooking teams, and every night one team will cook for everyone else. So you get to experience food from around the world as well, which is one of the best bits.
Oh
And you
my
get to hang out
goodness.
there, talk. The dinners usually last for hours, and lots of wine is consumed. And yeah, basically, I went because I was sort of a lot of people after the pandemic, after all the lockdowns. I'm a very
Mhm.
introverted, quiet person. I love my own company, but after several years of that, I was just craving connection. I was craving community. I wanted to be
Right.
around people. And so this is what eventually led to me signing up to this, because I'd actually been on the mailing list for years, and I never felt confident enough to go because I am very introverted, and meeting new people
Mhm.
and stuff, it drains me a lot. It takes a lot out of me. So I always put it off. I was like, I can't see myself living with strangers. Like, the thought of it was terrifying. But yeah, after the pandemic, I was like, nope, I'm doing it. I have to do it. I have to shake things up somehow. So
Worth
yeah.
it.
Yeah, so yeah, I eventually got around to doing it. And yeah, that month in that one house, I did some other co-livings and stuff afterwards, but that initial month completely changed the trajectory of my career. Like, it started all this travel transformation stuff, which I hadn't done before. And yeah, it basically changed my life with all the people I've met and all the things I've learned. So I would definitely recommend co-livings to anyone, even if you don't work remotely. Some people go there when they're on a sabbatical, when they're on a
Mhm.
break from work, to work on their own projects, that kind of thing. So you don't have to be like a digital nomad to go. And I just, yeah, highly recommend it for anyone, basically.
You have me excited about it because
Yeah.
I love the concept and I love the
Yeah.
exchange. It's not like you're just, you're there with other people, but you guys are still isolated. You're very much involved with
Mhm.
other people. You're learning about their cultures. You all are talking. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
it's
such
an
a neat experience.
incredible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you are introverted and I can be too. So I get the like I'm gonna need to pause after all this and just like get my energy back, recharge your
Mhm.
battery. How do you adapt your travel as an introvert? How do you
Yeah.
approach travel in a way that's comfortable
So
for you?
yeah, so there's a lot of things about going, traveling on the quieter seasons and the shoulder seasons, that kind of thing. If you don't want to be surrounded by crowds and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Obviously, there's lots of different levels of being introverted. I'm sort of very shy, quiet introvert, so I'm sort of way high on that scale. But there's also like things about, I find a lot of introverts are quite anxious in general, and the idea of traveling somewhere new, especially if you're on your own, can be very overwhelming. So I
Right.
just do very simple things, like I look on Google Street View ahead of time so I know where I'm going. So I know when I'm in the taxi, I know that, oh, this is where I need to get off. So it's not, you're not completely out of your depth.
It's
You've looked
good.
around the area beforehand. I went to one in Thailand a few years ago, and I knew I'd be getting there late at night on my own. I knew it would be dark. So I went on Google Street View, and it was just like this little fishing village, so it wasn't very big. And I just sort of scooted around the map, had a little look around, checked out some bars that I thought I'd like to go to. Really handy for that as well. And
Right.
yeah, just figured out, sort of like, familiarize myself with the area before I got there, which I think can help a lot. But also, as an introvert, as I say, in co-livings, there are usually quite a lot of people. It is an intense environment. Like, I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But, a lot of places you
Right.
can share rooms, but you can also, pay a little bit more to get your own room, and I would always do that. I have shared rooms before, and it's been fine. Like, there's been no problems with my roommates or anything. They were lovely. But just having that space to go back to, like you say, relax, recharge your batteries when you need to, get away
Mhm.
from all everything going on, just doing that. Or
Yeah.
if you know that going out for a walk in nature on your own helps you recharge, then just make sure you put time in to do that. And the places I've been to, I found this pretty even mix between extroverts and introverts. So people get it. They're not going to be like, "Oh, she's disappeared again. Where's she gone?" Like, they understand that some people need
Right.
to take
Right.
a step back, and yeah, recharge for a bit before going back into it. And that's how I sort of approach it. If it gets too much, or if I know that I need to just have some alone time, even if it's just going and watching Netflix in my room, just to sort of like chill.
Yeah.
That's what I do, and I make sure I build that into it. And yeah, I always book my own room from now on. I think it's a must if you're an introvert and you're living in these kind of environments, and then you can sort of pop in and out as and when you want to.
Mhm.
Mm.
That's really helpful. I
Yeah,
like
good.
that. Actually, I like that advice a lot. Just maintain your space. No, I like also that you use Google Maps because I started to do that just to look at the area, but I like that you
Mm,
use it to, no, let me see what it looks like going down the street and what
mm.
what are familiar areas. I was talking to
Mm.
someone else about that, and not just for people who are anxious, but, like, also for your awareness. If you haven't been to a place before, you don't wanna
Mhm.
stand out, like, "Oh, where am I? Where am I going?" Right? Depending on where you are, that could be a safety issue. Um,
Yeah,
and
definitely.
so I think that's a really good practice just to check it out before you go.
Yeah, exactly, and if you're in
Yeah.
taxis and things, it helps. I mean, I know we have Uber nowadays, so it's well, in a lot of places, so it's easy
Yeah.
to, follow the map and stuff like that, but if you're in a taxi and you know where you're meant to be going, you know what it's meant to look like, and if it doesn't, then you're like, exactly, at least you know that it's something's a bit dodgy and you can, try and, I don't know, do
Right.
something about it before, otherwise you just have no clue if you're in the right place or not. And that's the bit about travel, solo travel, that would really freak me out, I think. So anything I can do to sort of minimize
Mhm.
those sort of concerns before I go now, I do that. But the more you solo travel, I'm sure like the less you sort of anxious about this kind of stuff because you've realized that you can do it, you are capable of navigating around, and there's so many apps and things these days that can really help you. So yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I even though I've traveled since I was, like, a kid, I still get nervous.
Mm,
That's just me internally, but I know that that's what I do, and so if I
mhm.
push past that, I'm always like, "Oh my goodness, I'm so glad I went. That was fun. Oh my goodness, I
Exactly.
learned so much doing that." So, yeah, you just have to get past that initial
Mm,
angst.
yes,
So,
exactly.
we talked a little bit about how travel has impacted you, but how has it created your life's purpose?
So I'm all about life purpose, legacy, leaving a legacy behind, making a positive mark on the world. I've been working for myself since 2014 as a writer and editor. So that's my other business, and a ghostwriter. And through that, I've helped a lot of people write their own autobiographies, which I think is a great way of leaving a legacy,
Wow.
writing down everything you've learned in your life to pass on to your kids, or if you don't have kids, to friends, or, to strangers, whoever's going to end up buying your book. And I'm really into all that. So when I went to this house in the Basque Country for a month, I knew the whole ethos of the Sun and Co. Co-living place. I knew that they did school shares and things, and one of my biggest fears is public speaking, any kind of public speaking. Like, it
Yeah.
can be on a stage, it can be talking to a group of people, it can be being on a podcast like this. Like, I used to be absolutely terrified of any kind of putting myself out there. And it was really holding me back in life, like in my career, in just general. Like, that fear has been with me since I was a child, and I knew I needed to do something about it. So
Mhm.
when I signed up for this Sun& and Co thing, we had like a Zoom meeting before we went. They had a spreadsheet, they're really organized, and you can put down like all the topics you want to learn about, topics you can teach on, things like that, things you'd be willing to give workshops on. And I wrote that I'd be willing to give a workshop on life purpose and legacy, because that's what I was really into at the time, still am. And I was,
Wow.
secretly hoping that no one would sign up, because only the ones with the most signups would get to do it because of the time. I was like, okay, no one's going to sign up. It's fine. And then everyone signed up, and I was like, oh God, I've got to do this now. But like, that was my,
Of course I
that was
did.
my main, yeah. So that was my main intention going into this. I was like, I'm going to do a Skillshare, and I'm going to spend the month throwing myself into as many things as possible, as many social events, because they plan social events as well, as many business events, as many self-development exercises, all that kind of stuff. I'm usually the kind of person who sits in the corner quietly and just takes everything in. I'm quite happy doing that. But I was like, no, I'm going to make sure I dive headfirst into every opportunity I get and see what happens. So about 2 days after I got there, I gave this presentation. Absolutely terrified. It was just before dinner, so I encouraged everyone to get a glass of wine while we were doing it. So, make it more
Mhm,
casual.
mhm.
Everyone was more relaxed, and yeah, I was absolutely terrified, but I got through it. And I was so relieved afterwards, and was like just so proud of myself. It might not sound much doing a workshop to like 10 people or 15
Yeah.
people or whatever it was, but to me, that was like one of the worst things I could think of doing. So I did that. Then I spent the month, I can say, throwing myself into everything. And then at the end of the month, I wrote a poem about my time there, just for me. I'm not a poet by any stretch of the imagination, like terrible poetry. But I just wanted to remember all the little in jokes, everything we'd done, all the like funny things that had happened,
Mhm.
because I got a terrible memory. So I just wanted to write it all down. Then I started putting it into a poem form. I was like, this is quite funny, actually. At least it was to, people who were there. You had to be there, I guess. But I decided on the last
Okay.
night, during our like last supper that we had, to stand up and read my poem out to the rest of the group. And this is not something I would
Mm,
ever have considered doing in a million years. You couldn't have paid me £1 million before to do this. My own work that I, admit is terrible, but I just thought everyone would enjoy it because they'd all been there, that kind of thing. And I did it. I
right.
stood up. I said it. I wasn't nervous at all. I wasn't terrified like I was that first time when I did that
Mhm,
presentation.
mhm.
And I really actually just enjoyed it. Like, it was a good experience. And I was just thinking, I just sort of sat down for a bit and I was just reflecting. I was like, how different it was from the first presentation I did, where I was literally shaking,
Right.
to this that I'd just done, and I had a great time. And all it took was like 4 weeks, which in the grand scheme of things is nothing, of just throwing myself into things and just pushing
Mhm.
through the fear, stepping outside my comfort zone at every opportunity, saying yes to things that I would usually say no to. It's like, if I can achieve that in 1 month, what else can I achieve going forward? And how can I help other people do the same thing? So I came back from Spain. I went to Spain and then to Paris. And then I came back to the UK and did some traveling in the UK that summer. But then I started writing a book about it called Intentional Travel Transformation. It's the story of my 2 months spent in Spain and France, including that month in the Basque Country. And then a framework I came up with to help other people do the same thing that I did, to go into a trip with an intention to overcome a fear or limiting belief that's holding them back. Then I started the podcast, then I started doing courses, then I was just like, how can I get my message out there, help other people do it?
Oh,
Because
wow.
I knew it held me back my whole life, and if I hadn't have done that, it would still be holding me back right now. So, yeah, that month completely changed the trajectory of everything. Yeah, and I was just so glad I went, because I nearly didn't. I was umming and ahhing about going. I was like, "I don't know, like, it's really scary, like, meeting all these people and living with strangers for a whole month. Like, what am I thinking?" And then my brother just went, "Just do it, just book it, don't think about it." And I was like, "Okay." So I booked it, and then I freaked
Mhm.
out all over again. But yeah, so I'm just really glad I went. It changed everything for me, yeah, so yeah, loved it.
That is incredible. I'm so happy for you, like,
Oh,
I'm happy
thank
to
you.
hear that of your own personal transformation, and then just that's wonderful because that's the thing, right?
Mm.
You do it scared, and then
Mm.
you spend time just learning more and honing in, and then what? You've created something that you say is terrible, but I'm pretty sure it meant a lot to the people that heard your
Mm.
poem. That's and now look at you, like, oh, it's so cool, Jess.
Oh, thank you.
It's
But
so
yeah,
fun.
it
Yeah,
just shows how
I
sometimes it just takes
like
one decision and it can just change everything.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. I'm curious about your trip to Thailand. I'm slightly taking a detour. I'm
Mm.
curious about your trip to Thailand. What took you to Thailand? What did you learn? What were you doing there?
Yeah, so this was 20, and it wasn't called a co-living experience, but it pretty much was. And it was a writer's house. Sadly, it isn't there anymore. Otherwise, I would be like recommending it to people. And I'm a writer, and all you had to do to apply was be able to write, edit. Well, the woman who owned the house had this like content creation agency, so she would write blogs, articles for her clients.
Oh.
So she still has it, but it's all online now. And basically, in exchange for room and board, you just paid a deposit for the room. You didn't have to pay anything else. You could stay for 1 month, 2 months, or 3 months in this beautiful house on Koh Samui, this little fishing village, like I said, so away from all the tourists. Beautiful place. And you could still do your own work, because these were people who had their own businesses, generally were working remotely, but then you had to write articles for her company, edit them, and that kind of thing. But again, they did things like workshops, like grammar workshops, how to pitch to publications. So it's all about learning and getting that experience. So a lot of people were, younger, they wanted something to put on their CV, so this is a perfect thing. And you got to go and spend that
Mhm.
time in the amazing house, and Koh Samui. And yeah, and I met amazing people there too, who I still in contact with today. And yeah, so we were working, and then we would like travel around the island a little bit, do some exploring. When I was there, the cocktails were amazing, very cheap. So we would just, do some work, and then, go and have our cocktails in the evening. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. And that was sort of my first taste of like co-living. It wasn't as many people as some of the
Mhm.
places I've been to recently, but that was sort of the first taste I had of it. And yeah, I was terrified about going there as well. My family were convinced I was going to get like kidnapped or something. They were like, "Are you sure this is a real place?"
Oh, dear.
Like, "You just found it on Facebook." Like, I'm pretty sure it's legit. Like, I've done my research. But yeah, it was. there's always, you always have people worrying about you, which is nice to know that people are worrying about you. But
Exactly. Exactly.
yeah, it was funny though because my flight there got delayed. It actually got cancelled. The plane never turned up at London, so I had to wait like 15 hours or something to get the last spot on the next plane, and then run through Bangkok airport to get on the next little plane. It was very stressful, and then I didn't get there till like the middle of the night. So I was glad I was looked at Street View
Mm-hmm.
because I knew there was this giant God of War statue right next to the house, like absolutely huge, like this temple. And I got there at night and I didn't know it would be lit up at night. And it was. And he looked absolutely terrifying, like this giant God of War staring down at me. I was like jet lagged. I was super tired. No idea what was going on. But at least I knew where I was. I was like, I
Oh,
recognize
no.
that dude. I'm near the house. I'm fine. So yeah, that was my introduction to the area. But yeah, it was a really incredible experience. And if anyone out there finds anything like that where you can trade your skills for like room and board, that's a great
Mhm.
cheap way of working your way around the planet. So yeah, highly recommend anything like that.
How do you find these, either co-living or something that offers an exchange like that?
I
How do you
think
find these groups?
I found the one in Thailand. It was called the Content Castle. I think it was in a digital nomad group, so on a Facebook, and someone just
Okay.
happened to have written, like, done an offhand comment in a reply to someone else about it, and I sort of clicked through. But Facebook groups are really great ways of finding these places. Solo traveler Facebook groups, digital nomad travel groups. There are lots. I mean, since the pandemic, more and more co-living places are springing up everywhere. Europe, in particular. Um, there's plenty of places you can search. There's like coliving.com, but they also list rented apartments. Um, there's apps like Nomadago, and there's like more and more apps popping up every day. And yeah, I would just say start with that, or follow people online who are going to co-livings. They'll always recommend places. Um, I can recommend
Mhm.
places if you want to get in touch with me. Like I say, Sun and Co is my
Yeah, yeah.
favorite one. I've been there 3 times now, twice to the Basque Country and once to that other place in Javier. Highly recommend them. And yeah, just have a search for co-living in whatever country you are in, or want to visit, and I'm sure you'll find quite a lot, especially since all the lockdowns and more remote workers, more and more digital nomads. It seems to be
Mhm.
more of a thing in the past year or two. So yeah, definitely just start searching.
Sun& and Co, is that SUN?
Yes, I think it's
Okay.
sunandco.com if you want to check it out.
Yeah, that sounds really exciting, actually, I will. I wanna include it on, like, the description, but I also wanna check it out for myself.
Yeah, definitely do.
So what's on the horizon?
Oh,
What's on the horizon for you? What's coming up for you?
that is always the question, isn't it? I have the issue as many multi-passionate entrepreneurs have, where I have a million ideas a day and I want to follow all of them. Yeah, I'm really into obviously travel and using travel principles to help people transform their lives, but I'm also really into self-development, mindset work, all that kind of thing. I did a book called Write Your Life before this, which is all about goal setting and writing yourself into like a fictional account of your ideal life, kind of like visualizing, but in a grander scale and hopefully a more fun one, writing yourself into like an epic novel.
Mhm.
And I love all stuff like that. Yeah, so I
Oh my
really want to
goodness.
I really want to help people who are stuck in a rut, maybe stuck in a physical place, stuck in a situation, stuck in a job they don't like, whatever it might be. A lot of people, I think, are feeling this since the pandemic. They're re-evaluating everything, reprioritizing things. And I was there, like I felt very stuck in a lot of different ways, and I wanted to shake things up. And I actually, before I went to the Basque Country, the whole reason I went is because I started this self-imposed 30-day challenge called Flip the Script on Fear, where I did one thing a day that scared me, but that I knew that would propel me
Mhm.
forward in terms of my life and my career. And part of that was applying for this Sun and Co place. That was one of my day's
Okay.
tasks. And then that sort of snowballed into giving my notice in on my house, putting all my stuff in storage. It like escalated very fast. But it's all stuff I
Right.
wanted to do. But this kind of gave me the permission to just do it. Like I had to find something every day to do. So if it's something that really scared me, but that I knew I wanted to do, then I just went for it. So I want to help people who feel that way, because I don't think you should, like, life's too short to feel so unhappy or so miserable or so stuck somewhere. And
Yes.
there's so much more to see. There's so much more of the planet to explore. There's so many people to meet, things to learn about yourself, about the world. And yeah, I just want to help people in any way I can to unstick themselves, basically, and transform themselves through travel, but also through using travel principles. So even if you can't travel anywhere, just, the whole thing of going somewhere new, meeting some new people, trying something
Hmm.
new, stepping outside your comfort zone, intentionally facing a fear or a limiting belief that you've had for years head on, all those kind of things you don't have to travel halfway around the world for. You can travel, half an hour down the road and do the same things and have
Yep.
incredible results. So yeah, I want to help people do that. I have an online travel transformation academy, which I put all my courses and things in that were helping people. But I really want to, create like a course or a program that can really help people sort of get unstuck and flip the script on their lives and, give themselves their own plot twist in life. Basically, I love, the movies and novels analogies of, you get to write your own life. Each day is a new chapter. If you want it to be, you can just turn the page, write whatever you want. And yeah, I just want to help people do that. So I'm going to be coming up with like a new course, a new program to help people with all that stuff. Basically what I did. I want to show people that it's
Yeah,
possible.
that is amazing. I am positive that anyone who works with you is going to learn a lot and truly get that transformation because one, your story is so incredible, and then two, it's not that you make it seem so easy, but it feels like it's doable, just the way
Mm.
that you explain things and you share your journey. So, like, yeah, I was terrified to do this and I did. Look at me now. Like, you can do it too. I love that.
Oh,
Oh,
thank
that's
you.
incredible. So, how can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so my website is Travel Transformation Coach. I'm also on Instagram at Travel Transformation Coach. My podcast, if you want to listen to that, is the Travel Transformation Podcast. And yeah, you can contact me on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook group. Yeah, if you want to get a free guide, you can go to my website, traveltransformationcoach.com, click on free guide. You can sign up to my mailing list and I can keep you up to date with everything. I send out mindset exercises, travel tips, all that kind of stuff.
Very nice. Excellent. Jess, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for being here today. I'm so glad to have you on as a guest.
Oh, thank you. I've really enjoyed our conversation. Thank you.
One quick announcement. I want to get 8 women who are ready to begin their solo travel journey. If you're just curious about it, or maybe you traveled before but never solo, I'm inviting you to join my program, Empowered Solo. It's going to be 8 weeks of confidence building conversations, challenges, plenty of growth opportunities, and we end with an in-person retreat. Looking forward to seeing you. There are only 8 slots, so sign up as soon as you can. Hey, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please rate the show so that other people can find it and subscribe so you don't miss a new episode. As always, be bold, be curious, be ready to tell your story. You never know who needs it. Take care, have a wonderful week, and I'll talk to you soon.